Hey friends, and welcome back to the Alex Makes VR podcast. In today's episode, I am answering the question, does posting content online help you get paying clients? I think because we're living in this age of social media frenzy, content is king, as they say, we can sometimes question whether or not social media needs to be a core part of our business strategy. But is that the case, or can you get paying clients without it? I'll be diving into all of that in today's episode. If you've got a subject or a topic or a question that you would like me to cover in future episodes, then hit me up on the old DMs. It's Alex Makes VR on Instagram and Twitter. Also, I put out a really regular newsletter with all my insider tips and tricks and the insider scoop on the VR industry. That goes out very regularly. If you want to sign up for that, you can do so at alexmakesvr.com. So let's talk content, shall we? Specifically social media content. So posting on Instagram, tweeting, LinkedIn, TikTok, if you're down with the kids these days. I am not. Should you be doing it? Is it a really important part of your business strategy to get paying clients? Here's the thing. No, it's not. You do not need to be a social media influencer or be posting very regular content to get paying clients. Is it a good idea to be posting regular content online, which might then help you get paying clients? Maybe. Depends what your goals are, really. Let's talk about why. When you post content online, the key things that you are doing is basically building trust and building kind of awareness for yourself or your company, depending on whether you're a freelancer going under your own name or whether you are a company and you're trying to build a brand in that company. Posting content online, especially value-giving content, aka not just here's what I ate for breakfast or here's some fun thing I'm doing at the weekend, but the kind of content that I guess that I'm doing in this podcast, these are some tips for you to do X, Y, Z. This is why virtual tours can help your business, how to take a beautiful 360 photo, whatever it is, whatever the content is, it's value giving. It's giving someone else value. The reason that's a good idea is because A, people love getting free advice. Doesn't mean they'll always take it, but it's the equivalent of, a friend giving you a present out of the blue, I guess. Like if I go online and back in the day, think about it, before the internet, if you had a question, you'd either hope that someone in your inner circle, your friend circle or your extended friendship circle knew the answer to your question, or you'd have to go do a load of research and probably have to spend money to get the answer to your question. Whereas now with the internet, obviously just one Google away from finding the answer to anything. And if someone puts in a question into Google and your article comes up, or your YouTube video, or your LinkedIn post, whatever it might be, and you answer this person's question that they've been really struggling with, and it's something that they didn't know how to do, and they didn't even know where to start, and all of a sudden you've put together this really informative, value-giving piece of content that solves their problem, well, all of a sudden they're going to be really endeared to you. They're going to be like, oh, cheers. That'd be like going down the pub and having your mate give you some really valuable advice. You'd be like, oh, cheers, mate. That's amazing. I'm endeared to you. And it might mean that they look at some more of your content. They might look at more articles that you're putting out. They might look at, I really enjoyed that article. I like the way that it was written. It gave me the answer I wanted. Let me go see what this person does. Let me go see what other content they have. And before you know it, you're down a total rabbit hole of that person's content where they're answering loads of different questions, because chances are you are their kind of target audience. You're the kind of person that they want in their circle. And And all of a sudden they've answered loads of questions that you had. And all of a sudden now you feel like a bit of a rapport with them. You feel like you kind of know them. This happens like with all of the people that I follow online. Like this is absolutely how it happens. I will type in a question and then I'll watch a video or two, and it will take me a few to find the kind of article or video that that really answers the question. And then I'll be like, that was amazing. Let me see what else they've done. Let me see what else they're answering. Let me see if there's anything else that is hitting kind of like a spot with something that I need to look into. And before you know it, I feel like that person's my mate. And as far as I'm concerned, they've just saved me hundreds of pounds from having to go to a business advisor or whatever the question was related to. So when it comes to putting content online, what you're doing is you are building that trust and you are building that kind of that awareness, people finding you a bit quicker. Now, I say a bit quicker because you're not having to physically put in the time and effort to go and seek those people out. They are finding you. And so therefore, long term, you're not necessarily having to go out and do all that hardcore outreach and networking and everything. But it does not happen immediately. And this is the slight the catch-22 with content, isn't it? It's like when we're thinking about, do we make it a core part of our strategy? The answer is really nuanced depending on where you are in your career and your business. But I would say the answer is no, not if you're in a phase of your business where you're just trying to get to the point where you can sustain yourself. Maybe you're quite new and you just want to get your feet wet. You want some paying clients. You want to get your business off the ground. Here's the facts. It's very, very easy. I say easy, I shouldn't say easy. It's very simple to have a successful business without being online, as in without posting content online. It is not very simple to have a successful business just posting online. Does that make sense? So if you think about all the biggest companies in the world, think about those founders, think about the people behind those. That's the thing, not even the biggest companies in the world. There's companies that generate millions in revenue or profit that you've never heard of. And that's because you don't necessarily need to be known. You don't need to be a micro influencer. You don't need to be putting out content in order to have a successful business. You don't need it. I know lots of people that have 200-300 followers on Instagram and they run 6-figure businesses. But I also know, I don't know as many, but I know people that have tens of thousands, of followers on these platforms, and they don't have successful businesses, or they don't even know how to earn money from the online world yet. They don't know how to kind of build a successful business. All they know is how to post content. So it's kind of if you're going to go down the route of posting content online and using that as a strategy to get in paying clients, you really need to know your strategy. You need to reverse engineer why you're doing that content. Don't just post stuff into the what's the word? Ether sphere? No, that's not the saying. You know what I mean? Don't just post a load of content and hope and pray and rely on luck that one day someone's going to contact you off the back of that article that you wrote on LinkedIn and bring you paying work. Think about and reverse engineer the kind of person that you want to reach. Think about your ideal client. Think about where that person hangs out most. So, for example, if it's a head of HR or a business owner or a head of marketing, head of L&D, they will most likely, as a human being, they probably hang out on all of the social medias, but they will most likely, for business, be hanging out on LinkedIn. So maybe you need to put together a strategy where you're posting an informative LinkedIn article every month or every week, maybe that could be interesting. And then not only post that content, but then go and fish yourself, like go and search the hashtags, find people's questions. Like people are posting, obviously, they're not just posting content on these platforms, they're asking for discussion, they're asking questions. Like go and engage in those conversations. Just like when we talked about in the networking episode about, you know, going into those tweet threads, going into those Facebook groups, like getting to know your peers, kind of networking that way. Think about posting content is almost like the trust value. That's you're putting out content that's going to help people trust you. But go fishing yourself, go engage in some of those discussions, go answer people's questions if they're asking something and you genuinely have a useful answer. Because again, that could be a way for you to build trust and rapport with that person. And that's potentially how you can then reverse engineer posting content as a way to get paying clients. Now, the reason I say that I personally wouldn't focus on that as a core part of your strategy if you're just starting out, the reason for that is because you kind of need that momentum to prove to yourself that you can do it, that you can build a business, that this is a sustainable choice that you can make. And the easiest way to do that is by going out and getting yourself some clients to begin with. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's easier, but it's much quicker to go and do the outreach yourself. Whereas if you post an article on LinkedIn, for example, and it maybe takes, 3 months for, let's say, 3 months of you posting consistently for you to get even one potential lead for, someone that is potentially interested in your services to come to you. In those 3 months, you could have been sending out tens of hundreds of emails to potential clients that you yourself have qualified. You've gone and found someone that is potentially a potential client, like they are your exact kind of target audience, and you've gone and done that hand-to-hand combat. You've gone and emailed them. You've reached out to them so that you've eliminated that first hurdle with content, which is actually being discovered. Because obviously there's the other side of the content machine that we've not talked about, which is the fact that everyone is posting content. So when you're posting content, you are up against tens of thousands, if not millions of people who are posting, if not exactly the same content as you, very similar. Now, that's not to say that it's not worthwhile doing, because even if you're posting content and someone else has done that, the algorithm will at some point favor you. We all, bow down to the algorithm gods. But also it might be that if someone discovers you in another way, so for example, if I do a talk at an event, someone might then go and Google me or look into me and find me on those social media platforms and see the content that I've been posting. And all of a sudden, I'm now giving them the opportunity to get to know me better. So I know that a lot of you listening will have maybe discovered me from the YouTube video collabs that I've done previously with Ben Claremont on his YouTube video. Or maybe you found me through an article that Mick at 360rumors.com recently posted. Maybe that's how you found me because of something like that. And it just so happens that because I post regular content, you might now be like, oh, actually, this is actually quite valuable and this is really useful. And I'm going to continue kind of listening to this because this is answering some of the questions that I have. So do you see how that kind of, by being out there, and by putting content out, regularly, even though that's not the reason you came to me, you didn't necessarily find me through an algorithm. You didn't find me necessarily because the SEO gods were in my favor. You found me through different means, but because I post regular content, that allowed you to kind of have a bit of a deep dive, go down a bit of a Alex Rule wormhole when you first discovered me. And maybe that's why you're listening to this podcast now. Does that make sense? So think about it like that with your clients. Think about, you need to put yourself in the best position possible for you to, when you do reach out to a client or when they discover you, to give them enough of an opportunity and enough kind of info out there on you to really kind of build that trust and rapport very quickly, and to understand from their point of view, oh, this is definitely the person that I want for the job. Now, another version of this is having a portfolio. So for example, if you weren't going to go down the posting content online strategy, what you could do instead is you do, an outreach email. Someone bites, they're interested, they want to see examples of your work and they want to know how it can definitely benefit their business. So they want like case studies of how someone is not only, they don't want examples of just your work, they want to see how that work has gone on to impact that business. So what you could do, instead of focusing on posting content, maybe you could just have really solid case studies on your website. Maybe you just have a really solid portfolio. So let's say you reach out, that person's interested, then they go and look into you, and yes, you have an online presence where maybe you post some nice photos, or, maybe you say some interesting things relevant to the topic that you're talking about. But also maybe then on your website, you've got really solid case studies of how your services or products have, previously helped other businesses. And I would say, this is my personal preference, so each to their own. I would say, don't be afraid to put some personality in your content. The amount of times that I see like friends of mine in the VR and 360 space that are like, get a pint down their neck and they're hilarious and they've got really quirky, funny like way of looking at the world. But their content online is so dry and boring because they like feel like they have to be this like little corporate robot person, and like there's it could have literally been written by an AI because they're not allowing themselves to put their personality in their content. I would say it actually works against you if you do that, because nothing about that stands out. And as I've always said in other episodes, people buy from people. People want to do business with other people, just like anything in life. It's a people's game. So don't think that like, oh, but what if I post something like this and then they don't want to work with me? Fuck them. If they don't like you, then you don't want to work with them anyway. And the more personality you put into your content, the more that you kind of allow yourself to, whether it's through your case studies on your website or it's the content that you're posting online, the more that you put yourself into it, the better and the quicker someone can get to know you. Because that's what you're asking, right? Is like when you're asking someone to give you a check, essentially, for something, they want to know that you are trustworthy. They want to know that it's a bit like, I'm all over the place with analogies in this one, shock horror, for those of you who have been listening for a while. With Amazon, for example, the reason Amazon is such a juggernaut in the marketplace is not like the majority of your stuff from Amazon does not come from Amazon. Amazon aren't making that stuff a lot of the time. It's independent businesses that have like shop stores on Amazon. But if it's Prime, it's because that mum and pop shop, like that kind of indie shop, has sent the stock to an Amazon warehouse so that you can get it quicker. That's the only difference. It's not that Amazon have made it, it's that they're basically handling the distribution. Now, me personally, like I go to Amazon a lot of the time. I know that they're evil, so don't at me. But I go to them because I trust them. I know that they will deliver 99.9% of the time. I know that if I have a problem with something or I need to return something, it is the simplest, easiest process. The only reason I go to Amazon is not because obviously they've got they've not got kind of like personality necessarily. Like I wouldn't say that they're a brand that has that kind of personality, but they've built trust with me through the years from having such a seamless customer experience. But realistically, the product that I'm buying from Amazon is not actually Amazon's. It's a mum and pop shop's or an independent store owner's product. So what they are doing by listing on Amazon is removing that element of needing to build trust. you know, when like you're like looking for something and you can't find it on Amazon or eBay, and you like, so you just like go onto like a random website and it's like, you know, it's directly from the person, and you really want to be the kind of person that buys from an independent store, and you really want to buy something that is on, but there's this part of you that's like, oh, do I trust this website though? Like, oh, I don't know. It doesn't look as, because we're so accustomed to that. Anyway, I've gone on a right tangent here. But you get what I'm saying. Like, so when someone looks you up online, when someone looks at your content, what you're doing is you are building that trust as quickly as possible. So put personality into it. Make sure that you really think about, whenever you post something, think about it from the point of view of your target audience. But also know that you do not need to be posting content online to get paying clients. Because ultimately, for example, I mean, I know COVID put a bit of a spanner in the works with this one, but the best way to get paying clients is most likely getting to meet them, a client in person, as quickly as possible, because then you can build that rapport. Even if it's getting them on the phone, again, very quickly you're going to be able to build that trust and rapport. They're going to trust you more if you are on the phone answering any and all of their questions. So when you post content online, it's like you're second guessing what their question is to begin with, and you're just posting an article or something that kind of answers a question that you're hoping someone is going to ask one day. Does that make sense? I feel like there is so much within this topic, but the punchline, I guess, to conclude, do you need to post content online to get paying clients? No, you absolutely do not. In fact, if you are just starting out, do not spend the bulk of your time doing that, because it's very time consuming and it's very hit and miss, and it's absolutely a long-term strategy. So if you are new and you want to get those quick wins, then do outreach emails. Have a look, go out and like do your research and look at kind of who your local businesses are that you could potentially sell into. And again, they're probably going to trust you more because you are local. So you're looking for any way to kind of build that trust and rapport. Of course, you need a portfolio of work if you're trying to charge, because they want proof that you can actually do it. But they're not going to be expecting a 3-year-old blog of thousands of articles about all these things. All they want to do is they want to trust you, and they want to trust you very quickly. But if you want to build a kind of like a long-term strategy, if you want to post valuable content online for free, to build that kind of profile for yourself and to build that trust with your target audience, and if it's genuinely something that you actually enjoy, because I mean, that's the majority of the reason why I do content online, is because it does help with profile. So when I do events and things like that, people will, or when I do collabs with bigger people in the industry, people will have a chance to find me, and then there's lots of content for them to kind of consume. That's one reason. The other reason is I really genuinely enjoy it. And for me personally, it has led to paying clients, but only because I've done it consistently and I've posted a lot, not necessarily on social media, but, you know, by replying to people's tweets, by kind of having lots of a kind of a digital footprint, I guess, on the internet, so that when someone sees me at an event, they can kind of like, they can see that presence, and then they trust me very quickly, and they see that I've won these awards, and they see that I've, you know, I'm quite a trusted person in this industry, and that's when they reach out and they want to work with me because of that. So it's very, very helpful to have a kind of online presence, for sure, when you're starting to work with, when you want to be working with bigger clients, when you want the ability to kind of get work through online channels for the clients to come to you, rather than you having to go fish for it. It's absolutely a game changer, long-term strategy. But do not be fooled into thinking you need to spend hours and hours and hours every single week posting stuff online for free, or posting your selfie on Instagram, whatever it is. Only do that if you actually enjoy it, and you already are in a position where you are comfortable with the clients you've got, and you've already got a pretty sustainable retained client base. That would be my opinion. And again, each to their own. This is the kind of, I guess, the free-flowing answer that I would say to this person if they asked me this in person. So take that with a pinch of salt, but that would be my advice. If you've got another question or a subject that you would like me to cover in future episodes, then please do reach out to me, Alex Makes VR on Instagram and Twitter. Do you know what? If you've enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you screenshot right now the podcast, the app that you're listening on. Just screenshot the podcast right now and post it on your Instagram stories. Tag me. I love it when you guys share it. If you've got any value from this, it would really mean the world, because podcasting is definitely not a very good discovery platform. It's very unlikely someone's just going to randomly come across me. The algorithm doesn't work like that with podcasts. So it's all based on sharing and word of mouth and that kind of thing. So it would mean the world to me if you would reach out and share the podcast and tag me. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for listening. I will speak to you very soon.